This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, and I'm your host, Jason Glick.
And how are you doing today, Jason Glick?
Oh, I'm doing just fine.
And what exactly do you have on tap for us tonight?
Well, it's like I've got a bit of catch up as far as tonight's podcast is concerned because I've written and talked about how much I like Mike Mignola's B.P.R.D series. I mean, for a good long while, I actually preferred B.P.R.D to Hellboy proper, but it's also part of this whole Mignolaverse series he's created, that sprung up alongside Hellboy. I mean, you got Hellboy proper, you got B.P.R.D, and also you've got other offshoots like Abe Sapien, the Fishman, who's played a key role in both Hellboy's main series, and B.P.R.D proper, and also it's stuff like Lobster Johnson, and also now the sled was it Sledgehammer 33, I think that's what it's called. It's a World War II series that Mignola has done with John Arcudi. That'll be hitting trade paperback in a couple months. So, but he's got this whole world and stuff. But even though I've really, like I said, I've Hellboy has really for me caught fire in the last couple volumes. BPRD has always been the more consistent work, and that's also where Abe's has always has shown his face more often than not. But up until recently, it's I've actually neglected to collect some of the solo stuff that's been published for the character, just because hey, it hasn't been established that I that you necessarily need to read this stuff in order to enjoy BPRD, which I think is good. But recent events, specifically the introduction of Yosef, the director of the Special Science Services or the BPRD's opposite number in Russia. Um, Over the last couple volumes, it's been a step. You find out that hey, this guy, this really scarred guy in the suit used to be a zombie that Abe encountered in one of his previous series, and yes, that was established way back in Volume 3 of Hell on Earth, as it was hit up once again in this most recent one, A Cold Day in Hell. So at that point, I realized, okay, enough screwing around. It's time to just get Abe's the collected editions of Abe's series and just find out what I've been missing here. So that's what I did, and there's been 3 volumes so far. We've got The Drowning, which is a solo miniseries, The Devil Does Not Jest, and Other Stories, which collects the couple two-part miniseries and one shot the character starred in, and also Dark and Terrible and the New Races of Man, which is the first collection of Abe's new ongoing series. Now, starting from the beginning, The Drowning, it's written by Mignola, and it's illustrated by Jason Alexander. Alexander does gritty, creepy supernatural stuff really well. I mean, he's got it's not he doesn't go in for well-defined detail. He's more of a scratchy, sketchy, shadowy stuff. Kind of like a imagine like Jay Lee with less definition to his style, but it's creepy stuff that works here. As we found out, this is Abe, that the Drowning Chronicles Abe's first solo mission for the BPRD. He's essentially gone with a couple of agents to investigate the wreck of this old warlock named Epke Vorman, and apparently that Vorman was stabbed in the chest by none other than the Witchfinder himself. Good God, what was his name? Oh, Edward Gray. It's like, and and he was so and so but he stabbed him using this special dagger. Now the BPRD has that they found evidence of where Gray took out Foreman. They want to go and get this dagger back. Well, so they go to this French island of Saint Sebastian, which back in 1600s was the site of a flaming priest's ghost who gave a sermon on being better to your lesser man, to your fellow man, and and life has continued there, relatively uninterrupted for the most part, for several hundred years afterwards. Excluding the leper colony and slaving trade that sprung up around it in certain eras. But it's like Abe. So Abe goes there. They explore the wreck, and wouldn't you know it, it's like they unleash an evil supernatural force that threatens to doom. It's like everyone on the island. It's like and unleash like this great evil upon the world. So now Abe. It's like Abe, not quite as trained as professional as we know him in the series proper. It's up to him to just take things like settle everything on his own terms. So as far as things go, the drowning, it's if you like what Mignola does in Hellboy and B.P.R.D. This is pretty much more of the same. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not dramatically different. I mean, yeah, you've got the whole the supernatural menace. It's like the not really reluctant hero, but the hero who who wades in against even when the odds are completely against him, and it's like it's like create a supernatural threat. So it's fairly business as usual, and but I did like the fact that it does offer some insight into it does offer some hints as to Abe's origin, which that the demon that vision he sees when he goes into the church was some reminiscent of what he saw when he became Abe Sapien and all, and also the dagger itself. Well, that's popped up in B.P.R.D. proper, and I know okay, so that's where that came from. That's nice to know. So I mean, the drowning. It's kind of like Five Return. It's B.P.R.D. comfort food. I mean, if you find yourself, if you haven't bought it already, I mean, if you're reading this, like if you're into Mignola, I realize I'm like the weird exception here in the sense that I've bought so much B.P.R.D. and Hellboy stuff, and I haven't bought Abe yet. But if you're like me, then and you're just kind of thinking and just waiting for something to fill the void between releases of the next volume of B.P.R.D. or Hellboy, then yeah, it's like The Drowning is a nice it's a nice read. It's not essential, but it's satisfying enough, and you'll find some interesting little continuity bits here and there. Now, The Devil Does Not Jest in other stories. This is actually more fun because we got a couple stories, and they've got much more direct a much more direct impact on it's like on the continuity of the series. I mean, the opening story, the drowned boy, the haunted boy, isn't one of those. It's basically Abe investigating a haunting in a lake where two kids drowned a couple months back, and while one of the boys survived, they're thinking that the haunting is from the other boy who didn't. Well, so Abe is sent to investigate, and things. It's like things actually don't go as straightforward as here you would expect. So it's a nice straightforward bit of a supernatural haunting business. It's like and it was fun, but the real treasure in this volume is the Abyssal Plane, because this is the story where Yosef shows up, and when we first meet him, he's trapped in a Russian sub that has sunk to the bottom of the sea, and he's writing the last words that he thinks he will ever write to the wife he left behind in Russia. And and even though we see him making peace with and being visited by a spectral mermaid version of his wife before he dies, back in 1980, later on in 1984, Abe and another member of the B.P.R.D. Sal show up on this creaky freighter, investigating the mystical artifact that Yosef was transporting. Now, it's worth mentioning that even though I'm focusing specifically on Yosef for this, he's actually not. It's like he, as you know him in the B.P.R.D. series, doesn't actually play a big part here. I mean, in fact, he's just kind of portrayed as just a Russian grunt for the most part. One who just had the bad luck to be drafted for this mission by Varvara, it's like the supernatural little vampire girl from the main series, and so when Abe goes down to get the artifact he's guarding, Yosef like consumed by duty that is lasted beyond death, comes back up to track it down. So it's so when it's like even though it's set up for being like a high action series, it's actually more of a like a thoughtful supernatural piece in the sense that it's actually like at odds with most of the zombie stories you'd expect from this. You've read in the sense that like a lot of all the violence here is actually counterproductive and actually doesn't solve anything. And there are some funny bits here as the it's like as the ship's captain when Yosef is like walking over trying to get to the supernatural artifact, the captain goes, "I didn't disturb your rest. It was the fish man. Get him." Fun, like nice self-aware bits like this. I like that, and I like the conclusion they come to at the end, which essentially goes to set up the his role in B.P.R.D. I mean, when you see him in B.P.R.D, he's a lot different than then you see him here, basically to the point where you get the feeling that Mignola and his co-writer on B.P.R.D, John Arcudi, basically figured, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we brought that Russian zombie back and just made him head of their supernatural sciences division? That would be awesome. Of course, they had to make some changes to him, which they kind of just hand waved away. But it's like I got no problem with it here. I mean, the base story he showed up in is good fun, and I like the fact that he's seeing here. I like the fact that he actually went on to bigger and better things than just guarding a helmet at the bottom of the sea. Plus, reading this here, you'll understand why he's lording it over Varvara in in B.P.R.D, which actually got no problem with after seeing what she did to him here. Now, the last story is The Devil Does Not Jest, and it's a nice straightforward bit of a BPR supernatural fluff in the sense that like Abe gets a hint about this one researcher who was big into demonology, who disappeared back in the 30s, and then his grandson shows up one day with information about where he is. Abe goes out to Maine to find him, and he winds up almost in over his head again. But as the remnants of the guys efforts into building a bridge between our world and hell are still haunting the house itself. It's like I said, it's something dramatically different than what you've seen before in in Hellboy and B.P.R.D, but it's well executed for what it is, and it's got some great art from James Herron. Herron has since gone on to do additional stories for B.P.R.D and Brian Wood's run on Conan, and the guy's really good at drawing huge misshapen hunks of flesh, trying to kill the protagonist of your series. So that was cool, and it's got a nice ending as Abe shows that he's not only as badass as Hellboy, and Hellboy offers his own approval at the end too. So that was cool. So of the three here, I think that Devil Does Not Jest and Other Stories is the best of the 3 volumes featuring the characters so far. Which is, I'll admit, it's not the best endorsement for his ongoing series, but I reading Dark and Terrible and the New Race of Man, I was not particularly blown away by it. It felt like it's basically imagine it's basically like it picks up with Abe on leaving the B.P.R.D behind in the wake of hell in the wake of the Return of the Master after the giant earthquake that unleashed an all new set of horrors upon the earth, and his and his place in the world and in the organization specifically, not being what it once was. So now he's you're just like after being urged on by Panya, the revived mummy who works with B.P.R.D. and since that he's like she asked him, do you want to be a monster who shoots other monsters, or do you want to find out your role in this new world? Because it's basically stated that Abe is basically the form that the new race of man is going to take once all this like end of the world shit and B.P.R.D. Finally comes to a head. But is this what Abe wants? Well, even he's not sure about that. And so what we get here is kind of the fugitive by way of H.P. Lovecraft, in the sense that starts off with Abe on the run from B.P.R.D. Just real not real not wanting to be found by them, just trying to figure out just what exactly am I? Because it's basically hinted that if he doesn't know, then the B.P.R.D. are going to find out, and their way involves scalpels and microscopes. So his route takes him to a small town in Colorado, where priest recognizes him as oh, he's an angel. It's like the harbinger of this new world, and no one has to be afraid now because he's here. And his congregation doesn't take kindly to that. But when they try to hang him, something else happens, and it's a good thing that not only Abe is there, but that the B.P.R.D. were following him in order to clean up the mess afterwards. And yes, there is lots of mess there. The Then you've got the back half of the volume, which basically involves Abe going out to the Salton Sea to find out what was up with the monster that showed up there in the series, and hoping to get some information there. But no, he just encounters some people who are just lost and confused as they are, and they just wind up latching on to him as kind of like hey, a sign that hey, there's a reason, like all this is happening for a reason, and that the strange fish man is part of the great scheme of things right now. Both stories are all right, but it doesn't. But really, they don't really have the intensity or the compellingness that that a real ongoing series needs to survive. I mean, I've seen the sales numbers for the series so far, and I'm not sure if Abe's solo title is long for this world. And in fact, a lot of the stuff here, what I read in this first one, feels like it would have read better if he had if they had just done this in as kind of side issues to B.P.R.D. Just whenever they needed like a filler issue, just go back and check up on what Abe is doing. Just following him as like a nice ongoing subplot for the ongoing B.P.R.D. Epic. And it's like I'm probably going to be keep reading it because I am invested in that B.P.R.D. epic, but at the same time it's like I read Dark and Terrible and the New Race of Man, and just can't help but think that it probably would have been better served if it had just been if the stories here just been better set up as a subplot within the main title, which if sales keep going the way they are, we may get to that point. It's like eventually, so that's not necessarily a bad thing. So overall, it's like Abe's solo titles so far have been not not mind-blowingly good as the as what he's spawned from, but they're filled with like little continuity bits that will enhance your enjoyment of B.P.R.D. Proper if you're if you've been reading it. I mean, on one hand, yeah, it's like on one hand, I realize like that I should have been picking these up, but at the same time, I don't know. It's like I don't feel that put out by not it's like by not reading by not having read them until now. And save for the insight onto Yosef, you were not missing a whole heck of a lot by skipping them. To be perfectly honest, I mean, hey, I've pretty much told you all you need to know. So if you were on the fence about buying them, then yeah, everything I've told you here is kind of like all you need to know so far about things. So maybe that the ongoing series will go into more compelling territory, but we'll see. For now, Abe Abe is okay, and I think that there might be potential here, but I don't know. It's like I'm still more invested in seeing where Hellboy and B.P.R.D go themselves. Okay, John. So, any any particular thoughts on these ramblings?
Well, it's just interesting, the addition to that universe, and I guess you have to be a real like blind fan. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Maybe just a regular fan of the series to really enjoy it. I don't know. Maybe not. I am not. I'm not. I'm not one of the. I can't say that I'm one of the fans. I've enjoyed what I've seen and read, but you know. Hey, interesting review, sir.
Okay. All right. Well, so that's pretty much all we had for you tonight. And
Hmm.
also, next time though, it's like I'm pretty sure that by the time it's like about a week after this goes up, my copy of the of Marvel's Infinity crossover will have arrived at my will have arrived at my home. And so in 2 weeks, you can expect to hear my thoughts on Marvel's latest like crossover epic, which I am thoroughly looking forward to because it's a crossover epic with all of its major tie-in issues written by one man, Jonathan Hickman. Which hey, hopefully, it'll like serve as an idea like hey, maybe all these things should be written by one guy from front to back here. So, but hey, I won't be able to tell you. Can't tell you now because hey, it hasn't arrived yet. Well, you'll just have to come back in 2 weeks to find out how that turns out.
And until then, we'll talk to you later on Comic Picks by the Glick.
That's right. Later, all.
Bye.
Bye.
Well,